We are continuing this chapter, that is financial statements of non-profit organization. Almost we discussed all parts of the chapter. Next what we have to discuss is, you give the heading cost of goods consumed. Last year you have learned cost of goods sold, and that formula you remember. I don't know whether you remember. We have studied one formula last year and this year also. That means in the beginning in that chapter, accounting ratios, you have learned this cost of goods sold. Formula was opening stock plus net purchases plus direct expenses minus closing stock. Now we have to compute, or we have to find out the value of cost of goods consumed. The other one was sold. These two are different, but both are cost or both are expenses. Only a slight change is there in the formula. So cost of goods consumed means for a non-profit organizations, there would be certain goods or some goods which they are purchasing. They are called consumable items which they purchase on a regular basis. So for hospitals, that goods can be medicines. Then for a sports club, the goods can be sports materials, and for an office the goods can be the stationery which they purchase. So we need to find the cost of these materials consumed. So that's what we are going to discuss, and since it is cost, it is expense, it should be debited to income and expenditure account. You remember the format of income expenditure? Expenditure is coming on the debit side. So we have to write it on the debit side. So that is the format of income and expenditure account. Understood? So now we will see the formula of cost of goods consumed, which is almost similar to cost of goods sold, that is opening stock plus net purchases. What is net purchases? Total purchases minus purchases returned minus, net purchases minus closing stock. Okay, so this is the formula for computing cost of goods consumed. Opening stock plus net purchases minus closing stock. Now, when you prepare this income and expenditure account, this cost of goods consumed must be written on the debit side. That means must be written on the expenditure side. So here you have to write it as to cost of goods consumed. This will be the posting in income and expenditure account. Now, we discussed that net purchases, which means total purchases minus purchases returned. That total purchases means cash purchases plus credit purchases. So if the total purchases value, if it is not directly given in the question, you will have to add these two, that is cash purchases and credit purchases you have to add. That is how we are getting the cost of goods consumed. So we'll work out illustration 17, but before that you just go through illustration 16, no need to do that. You have to calculate the amount of stationery that will be debited to income and expenditure account, and the items given there: opening stock, closing stock, then payment made for stationery also given. Payment made for stationery means, since no other information is given in the question, that payment made for stationery means you have to take it as purchases value. So opening stock is given in the question, purchases 54,000 you have to take, less closing stock means you have to take that 2,500. So you will be getting the cost of goods consumed, which we will debit it in the income expenditure account. So we will work out now illustration number 17. Illustration 17, it's asking you to calculate the amount of medicines consumed during the year ended 31st March 2019. There also you can apply the same formula, but now what we have to do is, You have to see whether all information given to you. You have opening stock in the question, closing stock is there. Opening creditors and closing creditors are also given in the question. Then amount paid for medicines. We had the same figure like payment made for stationery in the previous question. There we took 54,000 in the previous question, that payment made 54,000. We took it as purchases. But now in this question, amount paid for medicines during the year, that 2 lakhs, you can't take it as directly as purchases figure because of that additional information. Additional information means opening creditors and closing creditors are given to you. Okay, did you see opening creditors 20,000 and closing creditors 50% of opening creditors? Did you see those two figures? So we have to consider that. Who is a creditor? Creditor means person to whom we have to pay money. That means we would have purchased some goods on credit basis. So here that net purchases means, or the total purchases means, credit purchases you have to consider. Since creditors figure given in your question, you have to assume purchases as credit purchases. Understood? Previous question we didn't do anything because creditors were not given. So you just have to directly take it as purchases value, that 54,000. But now since creditors opening and closing given, meaning is you would have purchased goods on credit basis, and that credit purchases figure not given in the question. Understood? That amount paid means it's the amount you are paying to the creditors. It's not the value of credit purchases. Credit purchases value missing in the question. You will have to find the credit purchases by preparing a ledger account for creditors. It's only a small account. The balancing figure will be taken as credit purchases. Did you understand when we have to do all these? If creditors values are given like this, usually you will be getting only these type of questions. You will have to prepare creditors account. So now we will see how to do creditors account. Before that you can write the formula for this, that is opening stock plus net purchases minus closing stock. Okay, and this is creditors for medicines. Creditors for medicines account. Opening balance we have to write on the credit side by balance brought down, that is the opening balance. Opening creditors 20,000 is given in the question. Then you have to write the closing balance. Closing balance must come on the opposite side. To balance carry down, half of 20,000 you have to take. 50% of opening creditors given, that means half. Always remember one thing, opening balance must come on the credit side, because creditors means it's a liability account and it will be having a credit balance. So opening balance must be written always on the credit side. Don't make mistake there. Then the other figure, amount paid for medicine. I told you it is not purchases. Since creditors are given, we have to assume that we have made credit purchases. So amount paid means it's not credit amount, or it's not credit purchases amount. Amount paid means we have already spent that. That is the amount you have paid to creditors. That's what we have to take. So amount paid to creditors given as 2 lakhs, which we'll write as to bank in this account. To bank 2 lakhs we have to write. Understood why we are writing it as to bank? Because we paid creditors. So the journal entry will be like creditors account, debtor to bank account, the amount is 2 lakhs. Okay. Now we have to find the balancing figure. Balancing figure as usual you have to add the debit side and credit sides, find the balancing figure. So balancing figure here is 1,90,000, which we'll write as by stock of medicines. Buy stock of medicines. This is the balancing figure. Okay. So you have to prepare creditors account if opening and closing creditors are given in the question, and this should not be taken as purchases figure. This should be taken as the amount you paid creditors. So to bank must be written, and the balancing figure, this is the value of, here you can write in the brackets, this is credit purchases. Understood? This is the value of credit purchases. And now in this formula you can apply this. Opening stock is given 50,000 plus purchases value, now we got 1,90,000 minus closing stock. Don't take closing creditors here, it's a closing stock you have to take. Closing stock is given as 45,000 more than opening stock. That means 45 plus 50, it will be 95,000. So minus 95,000. Now the final answer, the cost of goods consumed will be 1,45,000. So this is how you have to compute. Creditors account, they won't ask you to prepare specifically, but you have to do if opening creditors and closing creditors given. Then suppose in the question cash purchases figure was separately given. Suppose here we don't have the cash purchases. Amount paid, the 2 lakhs means the amount paid to creditors, that we have written as 2 bank. Other than that, if you had cash purchases 1 lakh, you had such a figure, what you will do? You have to add it with this purchases. Credit purchases we got 1,90,000. Here we have taken only that. We don't have any other information. Suppose cash purchases was specifically given like 1 lakh. Then your net purchases or total purchases will become 2,90,000. That is 1,90,000 credit purchase, 1 lakh cash purchases. If it was there, I just gave you an example. It is not there in this question. Okay, so illustration 17 is over. Next is illustration number 19. That is, on the basis of information given below, calculate the amount of stationery to be debited to income and expenditure account of Good Health Sports Club for the year ended 31st March 2020. Opening values and closing values are given. Opening stock, closing stock, opening creditors, closing creditors, everything given there. Then stationery purchased during the year ended 31st March 2020 was 4,70,000. Okay, and we are asked to do the amount of stationery to be debited to income expenditure account. So again you have to write the formula. We are doing illustration number 19. So cost of goods consumed will be equal to opening stock plus net purchases minus closing stock. Okay, we have opening stock in the question. Next is question is whether to do the creditors account or not. You have opening creditors, you have closing creditors like in previous question, but did you see that sentence given after that box? Stationery purchased during the year ended 31st March 2020 was 4,70,000. Stationery purchased is given 4,70,000. What we need is also the purchases figure, isn't it? In previous question the 2 lakhs was amount paid. That means amount paid to creditors. Here it is not given the amount paid to creditors. That is the stationery purchase for 2020. So purchases figure directly given 4,70,000. Opening stock also given in the question 80,000. Closing stock is given 60,000. So now cost of goods consumed will be equal to 4,90,000. This is the cost which you have to debit in income and expenditure account. Understood? So that net purchases means it is the total purchases made during the year which is directly given. In this question, no need to prepare creditors account. Understood? If purchases figure directly given, why you want to go and prepare the additional accounts and all? Whereas in previous question it was given as amount paid, that we took as to bank. It is not purchases figure. Okay. Then next is illustration number 22. How are the following dealt with while preparing final accounts of Star Sports Club for the year ended 31st March 2020. One balance sheet is given to you, that is the opening balance sheet. Like opening liabilities and opening assets are given. Then receipts and payments account for the year ended 31st March 2020. Payment side we have sports material 28 lakhs. Additional information, sports materials in hand on 31st March 2020 4 lakh 40. That means it is the closing stock given. Okay. So opening stock we have, closing stock we have, creditors opening value we have, then receipts and payments account by sports materials given. By sports materials means it is the amount paid to creditors, because we know that receipts and payments account will be showing the received and paid amount, isn't it? Received and paid amount. So that 28 lakhs on the credit side means that is the paid amount of 28 lakhs. Okay. So sports materials 28 lakhs on the payment side, you have to take it as amount paid. It is not purchases value. You have to take it as, because it is a paid amount. No, payment side we will be seeing all the paid amounts. So that is the paid amount which you have to write as to bank. That means you have to first do creditors account. So we will do creditors account first. Creditors for sports materials account, that's the heading you have to write. That goods name you have to specify. Previously we wrote medicines account. This is creditors for sports materials account. Now we will start it with the opening balance on the credit side. So by balance brought down, the opening balance, take it from the opening balance sheet 1,20,000. Do we have any closing value for creditors? No, we have only the opening balance sheet given. So no closing value of creditors. Next what we can write is to bank figure. From where will you take this? From the payment side. So payment side you have 28 lakhs which you write as to bank. Okay. Yes, so the account is over. There is no closing balance of creditors. We will find the balancing figure. That is 26,80,000 will be written as by stock of sports materials. By stock of sports materials, this is the balancing figure, this is the value of credit purchases. Okay. Now question is not over. We have to always get the cost of goods consumed. So write the formula for cost of goods consumed. Which is equal to opening stock plus net purchases. Always write the formula minus closing stock. So purchases here means the credit purchases figure you have to take. Opening stock you will get from the opening balance sheet. Are they asking you how to show these items in the final accounts? Okay, then we will do one thing. No need to apply this formula directly like this. See, after you do the creditors account, what you have to do is, the question is, how are the following dealt with while preparing the final accounts? It is not asking you to compute cost of goods consumed. Directly they are not asking, but you have to compute that also. And at the same time, you have to show how these items would appear in income and expenditure account. Okay. So, give the heading like income and expenditure account for the year ended 31st March 2020. Yes, and draw the format, only a small format we need just to show how these particular items will appear in this income expenditure account. And where will you write cost of goods consumed? This must be written on the debit side being an expense. So, to cost of goods consumed, opening stock the amount is, take it from the opening balance sheet, that is 1,60,000 plus net purchases, means that credit purchases figure which we got from creditors account. The amount is 26,80,000. So now the total is 28,40,000. From that you have to deduct closing stock. See whether you have closing stock in the question. Yes, as additional information we have closing stock value 4,40,000. So outer column figure will be 24 lakhs. This is cost of goods consumed. It's not over. Its question is how the following items dealt while preparing the final accounts. Which are the final accounts of NPO? One is income expenditure and the other is balance sheet. So you have to do the balance sheet now. Closing balance sheet we will do because opening balance sheet is there in the question itself. And when will you do opening balance sheet? Usually only if capital fund is missing, the opening capital is missing. In this question we don't need all those because we are not doing the entire question. We are just showing how these particular items will appear. So it will not tally and all, you need not find any balance, just show that particular item. Then the balance sheet we will do, balance sheet the closing one as at 31st March 2020. Okay, so just see the items given there. We have closing stock in the question, then opening liabilities are given, opening liabilities, opening creditors are given, that they have written already in the opening balance sheet. Opening stock also they have written in the opening balance sheet. Next what we have is that payment side sports materials which we included when we computed creditors account. So that also we have done. Then that additional information closing stock we have deducted it from your income expenditure account. In that formula we have deducted closing stock. Now the closing stock must appear in this closing balance sheet on the asset side as usual. Stock must come on the asset side. What is closing stock figure? 4,40,000. Understood? So this is how you just have to show. The question is over. You just have to show this one item. Because other two items like opening stock, opening creditors, it was there in the question. It is there in the opening balance sheet already. If you have like closing creditors, that must come here on the liability side. So income expenditure and this balance sheet, this is how you have to show. No need to tally the balance sheet, it will not tally, just show this particular item. So this is the portion regarding cost of goods consumed. In the next video, We will work out a comprehensive question based on this.